When I was considering a topic to discuss for capstone, I had trouble narrowing it down. I love discussing big world topics that ultimately show how horrible the human race is. I thought about discussing capitalism or classism, but those subjects just felt so empty to me. They had nothing to do with me. So I had to search for one that encompassed my high school experience, yet could also teach people about the world and themselves. Really since the beginning of my high school career. I've developed a fear that no one will ever love me, which logically is ludicrous cause look at me. Because no one ever showed interest in me romantically, my brain started to spiral. Then my mom told me something revolutionary. It's not that you're unlovable, it's just that you go to a white high school. Although admittedly this isn't the sole reason, I eventually came to terms with her words. I began to watch TikToks or other videos where other black girls expressed these same feelings, and it always ended with my mom's original statement: it's because you go to a white high school. Around December 2021, January-ish, there was a big example of this on TikTok. There's been an active conversation with the black community, specifically on the app, regarding black women and how they are perceived by men, themselves, and the world. A conversation sparked after men on the app started openly bashing women, particularly black women, for not being their ideal woman. The conversations they were having spanned from physical appearance like weight and body hair to wanting to downright control another person. A little weird if you ask me. Black women were at the forefront of this conversation, expressing their long built out feelings about the situation, sparking a major discourse. I want to expand on the conversation they started. Most people don't know the intricacies that modern racism has created when it comes to how we view ourselves and how we date subconsciously. In this video essay, I want to discuss relationships, beauty standards, culture, and much more. Hopefully this could in the end encourage other black girls to understand that they are beautiful and to understand that they are not alone. Whether we mean to or not, we define how pretty we are by the standards that are set by society. I got a scholarly article to back me up. Warning, there are a lot of big words. It states that the interiorization of the modern standards of female beauty as the image of a young girl impedes the psychological development of women and causes disintegration, disabling the interconnection of all elements of the psyche and giving rise to deep contradictions. Basically, in English, it's saying that unconsciously seeing these ideological expectations of what we should look like, especially early on, screws up our perception of ourselves. The beauty standard for a while now has been set by celebrities like the Kardashians, who have established this toxic, unrealistic expectation for women. This effect has trickled down to social media influencers, commercials, and other media that we consume every day. So every day we are shoving this unachievable view down our psyche. Now transition to a black lens, where the main people we uplift in our society are slim, thick white chicks with lip filler and a good set of extensions. That deterioration of your psyche is multiplied and you begin to distance yourself from ever being beautiful. An article by NCBI states a survey was administered to 134 young black women on Instagram. Many participants reported at one point wishing that they did not have features attributable to their race. 78% had thought this about their hair texture, 64% about their skin complexion, and 60% about their facial features. Wishes for smaller lips and noses were a resounding response to this question. This isn't a new ideology in society. It goes back to slavery and colonization. Spoiler: everything goes back to slavery. According to an article from Feminism in India, the historian Neil Irvin Painter claimed that white supremacists created racial categories to ensure that they were superior in all areas, including beauty. They not only wanted the people they called their women to be the most beautiful and their men to be the most viral, they wanted their countries to have the best politics, so they wanted to have everything better, and that included beauty. These concepts like colorism and code switching are derived from colonization, where whiter is better was ingrained into their everyday lives. This was in the day of an age of skull measurements and using science to show how inferior black people were to white people, or scientific racism. I swear, these people were desperate. We even see other countries like Korea who are influenced by white ideals with concepts like colorism in their society. Fair skin and lighter hair is favored in their beauty standards, and they even have things like skin whitening creams and face apps to alter the color of their skin. So even in places where slavery isn't present in history, where colonization wasn't directly forced upon them, we still see the ideals of colonization and these Eurocentric views of beauty being ingrained into their society. In America, black communities coming out of slavery started straightening their hair with relaxers that completely erased the kinks from their hair. Advertisements on newspapers were delved out to black people, starting this history of good hair versus bad hair. Assimilation took the forefront of Black beauty with the wide use of the hot comb and chemical creams that would burn their scalps. The business of black hair became so profitable at the time that Madam C.J. Walker became the first self-made millionairess, garnering $9 million by the end of her life. We love to see Black women winning, but it shows how prevalent assimilation became in Black culture. These ideals are still a part of our community today. Only 12 US states make it illegal to discriminate against hair, and people are still getting suspended for box braids. Bruh? Makeup brands are just now making inclusive foundation shades for all colors, limited natural hair brand selections on shelves, and selective inclusivity in media. The ideals that tormented our ancestors are still in place in the beauty industry and society today. I want to circle back to girls getting suspended for Black hairstyles. Black students are 3 to 6 times more likely to be suspended and expelled. 70% of all disciplines are discretionary for reasons like dress code or long hair violations. Assimilation is rooted into Black girls from a young age, and systematically it starts in school. This very aggressive discipline ties to how masculinity is so tightly attributed to Black women. The same way that Black men are viewed as a threat for their stature, no good reason at all. The same trait is tied to Black women. Even the most feminine presenting Black women get called men. Think Megan Thee Stallion, who I would say is the epitome of femininity. Wigs, lashes, makeup, the outfits, and yet she gets called a man. It happens to Serena and Venus, Michelle Obama, Renisha McBride, really any dark-skinned Black woman. I want to do a follow-up video on animal studies, but when looking at masculinizing Black women, it's hard to avoid it. You know those school examinations I was talking about earlier? Well, they're back. When scientific racism and slavery began, colonizers used these measurements to equate Black people to subhumans. They spread lies that Africans were having sex with apes and were even apes themselves, which is something that, like everything else from slavery, has yet to die. Eventually, these comparisons became gendered.
Over time, the imperial discourse took a more gendered tone, with comparisons being made between African and European women in order to justify the exclusion of African women from the category of woman altogether. Sarah Baartman is a perfect example of this. Brought to Europe from South Africa in 1810, Baartman was displayed in circuses and public squares until she passed away. Upon her death, scientists assessed her elongated labia and promoted their findings as proof that Black women's deficiencies made them less womanly than their white counterparts.
Black women were placed at the lowest point of the social scale, below white men, white women, and Black men. We were only thought of as reproductive property, and colonizers didn't even believe that Black women could be raped. It's similar to the Sarah Baartman story. Black women's promiscuity defies law and human decency. So at that point, it goes beyond masculinity and us being viewed as a threat. We are no longer human. It doesn't matter how much makeup we put on, the dresses, the bikinis, the wigs, it doesn't matter to you people. You will time after time find a way to dehumanize us and strip us far past anything we actually are. You won't include us and you throw label after label at us. We're ghetto, we're combative, we're angry, which only furthers these ideals. So if we can become less worthy of being viewed as a woman, then we can't possibly be viewed as lovable. As I stated earlier, it was one of my worst fears like a year ago that I was unlovable, that no one would ever find me attractive simply because I was Black. I remember having a discussion with my English class over Zoom about it. Those are dark times. We just talked about the ways that Black women's beauties degrade down to nothing, really. Dust, I'm joking. But how does that apply to relationships? Let's start with Black men, since most people date in their own race. Throughout history, Black on Black love has been seen as a form of protest. It's not something that is seen or represented, especially by the media. Media instead prefers to portray Black love as a scam. We all know the common microaggression of Black people don't have dads. Is that a microaggression? That's just straight up racist. But this divisiveness that they want us to have, that they fed us from slavery and beyond, Black people being able to defy that and show the world we can love each other, even in the form of a community, is very powerful. Yet if I'm being honest, there's a good chunk of us that haven't gotten the memo. Black men as of lately have been going crazy on TikTok with this toxic movement of men deciding to speak through a microphone about absolutely nothing.
If I had the preference, I would prefer to have full control over my wife. Full control over my wife?
Do you notice how these Black men with podcasts start to sound more and more like slave owners without the stock to do so, right? And that's what's so compelling to me. This obsession with full control over things only comes from people who feel so powerless. I can't see how my desire to do what has been done to my lineage is hurting me. And it's appalling and it's almost a joke because what these men want, they will never get, because like I've said a million times, they are fighting with white man's tools that do not work for them.
Their idea of a man is a controller. And I don't mean Viper. You get it? Because Valorant... Yeah, okay, anyways. They've inherited and twisted the experience of slavery and equated the very men that tortured their ancestors to what a man should be. This vision of a man that they've created in their heads is them seeking white validation. Like Kiara said, they're fighting with white men's tools that don't work for them. This is why black men are one of the highest demographics to date outside their race. Because of slavery and how parents and children were separated and sold to other plantations, we have gained the amazing generational curse of having fractured families. Yay! Although I will preface that a lot of black families have both parents, don't get it twisted. What we also gained in that process of having fractured families was this matriarchal structure. Black mothers were forced to become the backbone of the family. A lot of black men date outside their race not because they truly like that person, but because they can't force their own woman to submit, so why not look elsewhere? They don't realize by trying to gain that control and present as more masculine, they just end up emasculating themselves even more. You can't deal with a woman being strong and a leader because society, the white man, has taught you that's abnormal, so instead of dealing with your generational trauma, you make black women feel unattractive and say dumb stuff like this. Cute. Black men aren't the only ones though. White men and other POCs perpetuate this narrative that black women can never be attractive.
Going off of my last video where I pretty much just said, you know, we shouldn't conflate the experience of growing up as a black girl as it relates to dating and desirability with the experience of other women of color, because it's not the same thing. Like, it's one thing to be nervous about like not being a guy's type, but it's another thing entirely to have to literally wonder whether or not a guy would even look in your direction because of the color of your skin. Like, and it's even worse the darker your complexion is. And this is me speaking from the perspective of like a straight woman. Like, that goes for all men, no matter what race, black, white, whatever. I always have to wonder, oh, does he even like black girls? Men literally will reject us for being black.
We are the only race that has to worry about this, that has to actively put the pieces together to see if you find this attractive. Like she said in the video, we have to do it with white people, we have to do it with black people. It's universal and unescapable and frankly frustrating. I won't be too specific, but I'm sure there were people I liked in the past who possibly rejected me because I was black. That's a high possibility I consider. Once again, these topics like masculinization and beauty standards contribute to this. There are black girls who are made fun of and made to feel absolutely disgusting because they were black by white guys.
They was always like, ew, black girls, gross. But as soon as graduation hit at 11 p.m., you know what I'm saying? Well, they was on you. I don't understand why white boys that like black girls gotta act like they in some secret society. You know what I'm saying? They gotta like come out the closet. You know, I always thought she was fine, like, but you know what I'm saying? You know how my parents are. What?
These same guys that do that to black girls then turn around and pander to them. And Fanita mentions that these are white guys that are into black girls, but I think there's a fair percentage of them that just fetishize black women and think having a black girlfriend does something for them, makes them woke. There are so many videos on TikTok of white guys pandering to black women and expressing how not everybody is into you, but I am and I'm white. Like, that's not a flex. First of all, it's giving very much pick-me energy. Second, that doesn't make you special, and it's very clear that you're fetishizing black women because of the way it's presented. It's always with a rap song in the back, whatever they consider black. It's corny as hell. With the history of over-sexualization of black women, this fetishization is simply the modern form of those colonial roots. The result, this treatment that we get from men and society can scar black women to the point where some of us don't believe that we could be attractive at all.
I mean, seriously, it's so bad. To this day, if a certain type of person were to walk up to me and tell me that I was attractive, I would be confused. I would be confused. And not because I don't think I'm a good-looking person or that I'm not funny or talented or hardworking or anything like that, but literally because society has completely rewired my brain to think that there is something wrong with me, that someone of, you know, who looks like Captain America, right, would never be interested in me.
Remember how we talked about beauty standards scarring psyches? This is such an unexplored example of that. Nobody talks about the emotional and mental detriment either experiencing this or learning about this does to us. It's the reason why I had that conversation with my English class where I was like, nobody's gonna love me, because society has taught me that's the truth. Guys don't date people like me. You see it in media, like reality dating shows. Black girls always get chosen last. White men getting on TikTok and pandering to black women for clout is manipulative on several layers. Not only do some black women who seek validation give into this, but it also typically comes with Black Lives Matter hashtags and things that show they're an ally. And when you scroll on their follows and see they're only following white people, it becomes blatantly clear that they're just picking out the parts of being an ally that work for them and using that to get follows and likes. This is an all too common thing that a lot of people, not even specifically influencers, do. The moderate, appearing to side with the minority's cause, yet when it comes time to fight, they're nowhere to be found. The internet is ridden with moderates. Instagram, Twitter, Tumblr. Forget I said the last one. You can't escape them. This concept of the moderate has existed since the days of MLK, when he, as far as I know, coined the term in his infamous letter from Birmingham jail. One of the biggest setbacks for black people are these manipulators who want to insert themselves in the black community but don't want to fight with us. That want to pick out the parts of black culture for themselves but have no interest in hearing black voices. It's a fight for the cultural appropriation pie. You get a piece and you get a piece and you get a piece. I'm here to tell you that the black community is sick of you. Yuck. When we try to call people out about this, they always use their proximity to the black community to negate the experience of said community. Well, if I hang out with black people and listen to rap music and date only black people, then I must be able to say the N-word, right?
Whoa, hold up now, hold up.
It sounds silly, but that's how these people act on a regular, schmegular, degular basis. They use their proximity to justify fetishizing black men, using racial slurs, microaggressions. It goes on and on. Some people have this pro-black or pro-minority agenda, but will actively vote against the interests of those people. I'm sorry to tell you, but you can't be a Trump stan and also have a Black Lives Matter and hashtag in your bio. It's just not adding up. Moderates run all the way up to the government, who was one of the biggest contributors to this. They will actively make political decisions that appear pro-black but don't really help any progress, like putting Maya Angelou on a quarter or making Juneteenth a federal holiday. Representation is amazing and should be honored, but where are the real laws and legislation that are going to help redlining or black education or keep erasure of black history from furthering? Where's the movement for reparations? I watched a TikTok that calculated if black people had been given their 40 acres and a mule, we would all individually be worth $3 billion. But that's a discussion for another day. The truth is, you don't care whether we're represented or given justice, you just want what we have. And like your ancestors, you manipulate and steal just to get it. You steal space from us and silence us. And I know some of you were like, what are you talking about? I don't. Hush, baby girl. I got the receipts. Since TikTok has been the main social media platform I've used in this video, might as well keep that trend running. Back in February for Black History Month, TikTok hosted an event where TikTokers can have an open conversation with Nicki Minaj about the month and ask her questions. First, let me say they chose the wrong person to headline this event for multiple reasons. Mostly black creators were invited, but some other creators were as well. In the end, the entire thing went awry. A lot of black creators weren't able to get into the event, and even if they did, the entire conference was taken over by non-black people who just wanted to ask Nicki about her music. So there you go, non-black people taking our space. You get it now? A lot of black creators went to the app afterwards to vent about the event.
My friend, Black History Month isn't for only black people to remember black history. It's for everyone to remember black history because of everything that's happened.
I'm so happy that you have a choice. You know, the choice to be interested in my culture. The choice to pick up a book and learn about how many black women are constantly being beaten and raped. The choice to find the slavery and the beatings of black people as an interesting subject topic. I'm so happy for you because as a black woman, I don't have a choice to be interested in black history. I live black history. I am black history. If you were in the same meeting that I was, in the same Zoom call, and the same link up with Nicki, you would have saw that there was more non-black people in that meeting. You would have saw that there was more non-black people asking her questions. You would have saw that there was more non-black people getting up in there and speaking, and you would have wondered to yourself like, wow, we really took over this Black History Month event. But let me be quiet because it seems as if I know less than someone who's interested in black history. It seems as if I don't understand how Black History Month is supposed to go. It's the month where we have to educate you guys on Black history and we learn about Black history. Black History Month isn't just for Black people. Black History Month is for everybody. We have to share everything with you people. Do you understand that? And I'm just saying, everyone that's non-Black, they always want to reach into our culture and we are obligated to give and give. Aren't you sick? Because I'm sick. I'm sick and tired. I am so sick.
As Black people, we can't have anything without somebody either coming in and stealing it or destroying it. Black Wall Street, Seneca Village, the Black Panthers. We can't exist and be autonomous without that being an issue. White people get to have their own spaces autonomously and nobody has an issue with it. You see, when we let you guys in, it does nothing good for us. Once again, we can refer to the internet as a reference. Those same things we are made fun of, big lips, big butts, cornrows, edges, the list goes on. Now everyone wants to be a part of it. You see video after video of white people with distinctly Black hairstyles being called out for it and then responding with, it's just a hairstyle. See, if you weren't so ignorant, you would know it's not just a hairstyle. Braids and cornrows, these hairstyles you make slave jokes about, were used to help us escape from slavery and gain freedom. They were used by our ancestors in Africa as a form of art and expression. A culture and history you aren't tied to and clearly don't understand. Disrespectful, eh? It doesn't even look good. I can see your scalp from like 10 miles down the road. For your hairline's sake, take it out. They want to call the way we talk ghetto and improper, yet the words we created are in everybody's mouth. Child, purr, period, slay. People on TikTok and Instagram have these entire internet personalities based on Black women. The way you move your hands whenever you're talking, the expressions you make. You're mimicking Black women and profiting off of what you deemed ratchet. Yet when you do it, it's relatable and funny. All of that is without mentioning the trends you stole from us. All of the dances and sounds we created that your faves get to go on Jimmy Fallon and do. White creators get to come on platforms like TikTok and use our content so they don't have to be original. I think there was a TikToker that copied a Black creator's TikToks frame by frame, and whenever he was called out for it, was like, yeah, it's TikTok, everybody does that, are you okay? And the only way this stuff gets acknowledged is if we say anything. If we didn't, who knows what would happen? And once again, this isn't an exclusively influencer thing. Everyday people do it. They mimic the actions of Black women or do Black things and have no acknowledgement for where it came from. The moderates.
But we're not talking about those people that gatekeep outwardly. There are a lot of people of color that gatekeep internally, and rightfully so. I've never once said that people are not allowed to consume Asian culture. I only express my frustrations with how people mismanage it. When people of color observe American history and the way that Americans treat people of color in our culture, when you constantly get assaulted, you get defensive, you don't get more open. You can be rich and famous and have your whole family's life set ahead for you off of the backs of Black people. That sounds a bit too fucking similar to something else in American history. But then so what? Right? So what? What happens to the Black people that did all the work? What happens to those white people that are rich and famous now? Nothing. No repercussions, no repentance, no nothing. Gatekeeping is what happens, not as an active response, but as a reactionary response to how we as a society treat people of color and their culture.
And then they wonder why we gatekeep our culture, because we want to reclaim some sort of space for ourselves. As he said in the video, gatekeeping inwardly isn't an active response, but a reactionary response. This behavior has been happening for hundreds of years. For hundreds of years, we've had to stand by and take it and be the butt of everyone's joke and be beneath you. It's taken us this long for us to realize we actually have the power to reclaim these spaces we shared with others for so long. That's why movements like the Harlem Renaissance and the Black Power movements of the 70s and 90s are so special to me, because it's us finally wearing our culture like a badge of honor. All of that giving to others that we've done as a community, we're finally flipping that and giving back to ourselves. I dedicate this video to all the Black girls who ever felt like I felt. For a while, I thought I was alone in feeling all of this, but seeing those videos on TikTok made me understand that this is a common thing for Black women. So if you're watching this and you're a Black girl, or even if you're just a Black person, just know that you are beautiful in every way possible. Wear your braids and afros and puffs with pride, wear your dashikis and do-rags, and most importantly, say that, love yourself and realize the beauty that is being Black. Because I know that was one of the most important things I learned from these past few years. Black people create the culture. We are innovators and visionaries and kings and queens. Just know we are the culture. We are the moment. Always and forever, baby. Okay, bye.